Have you ever been close to come back to national team since your decision to leave?
Really, really honestly, just last year. Last year was like uh, really, I had this kind of moment. For sure, I'm not as dominant I was, but what I cannot physically do like I was doing in the years before, I can compensate with experience, compensate with strategy, compensate with preparation. He never gives you easy time. He never says you, okay, we had a hard week. Now we can do a little bit less and stuff like this. No, he's always pushing, pushing, pushing for the end goal. From the first moment, I was sure that this project was as good as I was promised. This project could have been the thing that we were striving for.
Hello, Matej. Big thanks for joining my podcast. It's a great pleasure that you find the time to talk, and it's a great. I'm glad that you want to talk.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry it took so much time, but now it's much easier during the vacation time. During the season, it's quite hard to make a time for this kind of events. But it's a pleasure, and hey, glad to meet you face to face, even it's far away.
Yeah, you are right now on vacation, but you're preparing also for next season. When I was preparing for interview, I have like maybe quite stupid question. Don't get me wrong, but why you still play volleyball? Like in terms of you are almost 40, you achieve many great things. Many of your colleagues, most of your colleagues are already retired. Many of them are coaches right now. I don't know, it's about the money, it's about you spend so much of your life in this environment, so it's hard to, say goodbye because it's not, looking at the current volleyball world, knowing how much exhausting it's the
Mhm.
calendar, it's hard to maintain a good shape at that age.
That's true, and I think the answer is somewhat a combination of all the things that you said, but mainly, there are two reasons that I continue playing. One, because my body still permits me to do it at a good level, and the second is that I still enjoy it. It's still fun, and it's quite challenging to be able to perform at a high level because Italian top Liga is really hard last years. And for me, it's a great challenge and also great fun to do it.
So, could you say you still have the same fun to volleyball you had when you were a teenager?
I would argue that I have more fun now.
Really? Why?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know. I don't know. I just enjoy it more. When you're a teenager, is more like a challenge, more like a goal you set up for yourself. Now there is not a goal. Now you enjoy the trip, you know the ins and outs. Yes, you're not so powerful, explosive. You get tired easier. But if you prepare well and if you know where to push and where to kind of preserve yourself, you can manage to do even a good job even at the age of 40.
but many of players said that they liked more junior times because there wasn't any politics, there wasn't any money, there wasn't any
Mm.
agents, all these bad
Well,
things.
fortunately, I don't have to deal with this kind of stuff. One, because I don't have a manager, and just all my career, I manage my own contracts by my own. And so I don't have this kind of I hear this, but you do that, and this kind of stuff. And for the other part, like the politics and the stuff, it's mostly connected with the national teams, and it's more than 10 years now that I'm off the national team. So also in that regard, I'm free to choose and to do whatever I like.
So, could we say you are a good agent? Could, do you have a talent to be an agent?
I am sure that somebody more professional could have done a better job, but I'm very happy with what I've done. And honestly, I think if you make a wrong choice, you can end up hurting yourself and your career a lot. So I'm glad that I make good.
But also, yeah, it's interesting that looking at your career, you many times went back to your former teams. So, like for example, yeah, to Trento, to JTEX Things. So
True.
I assuming yeah, it's maybe about the also it's helpful for you that you build this connection. So it was easier for you maybe to negotiate the contracts.
For sure, but also the connection was both ways. So that I can consider coming back, it should have been a good place to be. And I was lucky in my career to have chosen good teams to also have the opportunity to like build this relationship with.
You are, yeah, as we said, you are right now in Italy, but from
Yeah,
what I know, you have academy in Bulgaria, the
true.
Michał Kaziyski Academy. So, I mean, do you have even like bigger plans towards your life in Bulgaria after retirement? Maybe when it comes to expanding your academy.
The academy is expanding on herself on its own, and I would love to someday be able to give a little bit more time. How much more is to be decided and to be seen, especially what kind of opportunity I'll have once I decide to finish my career as an active player. But this is like so ambiguous that I cannot like plan and do something more realistic about it. For sure, the academy is growing. We started with just I think 80 kids, and now there are more than 200. And from last year, now it's 2 years now that we have a team in the third men's league. And hopefully, if we manage to do this also in the women's, but for now it's a bit difficult because women's championship in Bulgaria have troubles. I mean, there are very few teams, and it's hard to build one. But for sure, I'm very interested in this kind of stuff, and that's an opportunity. But I haven't set a goal for it yet.
But you had a chance to see the development of junior players in Bulgaria right now because of academy, and in the past because you were part of this process. How
Okay.
much this development system of junior players in Bulgaria increase, like get better throughout the years? Do you see a big improvement, or maybe still there is much work to do?
Unfortunately, what I want to say is that during the years when I was young, there was not much work put in. And the effects that this brought, we are suffering right now because a lot of talented boys didn't manage to reach their full potential. Now, a few teams are starting to see that the things are not working exactly as it was like 50 years ago. Just put them to train, and if you have enough numbers, one of them will become a good player on its own. And you have to really put an effort, and also nowadays you have to adjust and input the new methods of work because they give good results, and especially on the injury plan. A lot less players, especially on young players, have grave injuries nowadays because of the prevention, because of the different workouts that players are now doing all over the world. And I try to implement in our school, our academy, this kind of work ethics. And I hope this will give good results in some years, but we need to be patient.
Is it true that during your younger days there was a age limit in Bulgaria? So you were have to be like I don't know
Sure.
around the age, yeah, to have a permission to go playing abroad?
To be honest, this was only for a very short period of time. They put this age just when I was coming up, and the age limit was 21. And I was not the only, but one of the few um, year cycle that get up to this restriction because a few years after me, like people started to complain because it was not right to just keep people and forcefully keep them because the opportunities that players have in Bulgaria financially was really, really low. And when a player is like gifted and could have like earned maybe 10 times more than he was earning, why keep him at home and just put an embargo on his career just for having a few teams kind of using him as a cheap labor.
But looking back, do you think that was maybe the thing that, let's say, a little break your development when you were young? Because, if, for example, for me nowadays, it's hard to imagine that, good player would play in Bulgaria upon, age of 20, 21. Because, for example, we had 2 seasons ago, we have Karyagin, this Bulgarian, in Zaksa, but he was such a young player. Now we see, Nikolov brothers, the older brother also,
True. Well, to be honest, I don't think it hurts so much because players that go abroad before 20 or 21 are kind of rare. When you get the vast majority of players, nobody have even the opportunity to go abroad before this kind of age. And we are talking about really a few selected people who are very gifted and very talented that have this opportunity. And for them, yes, maybe. But for me personally, I don't think it hindered me so much because when I had a good opportunity, I had to wait just 1 year. 1 year is not so much time when you're young, and I cannot say that kind of hindered me. Maybe a little, maybe not. You can never say, but it was not such a big of a deal. But there were plans to even extend this kind of restrictions even more, and that could have been really detrimental for other players.
And it was easy for you, 21-year-old guy, to move outside your country and start, playing abroad in Russia. How you remember this transition? Because also it's one thing, it's about the volleyball because it was much better level, but also it's about, life. Just you were a young guy who went, different part of Europe.
True. No, for sure. Easy is never a word that even comes to mind when I remember these times. It was very hard and very challenging, but at the same time, it was realizing my dream to becoming a professional volleyball player and to play at top level. So it was also exciting and new and really thrilling. But at the same time, it was difficult because it was a new culture, new language. Fortunately for me, the language was very close to my own, so I managed to understand everybody after just 3 or 4 months there. And I was also able to speak at a good level in a 6-month period. And from there, it was downhill on the communication term. But still, it was a different culture, even though it was close to my own. So Russia and Bulgaria was kind of same mentality, same structure in many ways. So it was very close to home.
I always heard many stories from the players who played in Russia that when they signed a contract in Russia, the owners, the management was high demanding to foreigners. Okay, because the foreigners were paid much better than Russians, but also,
Well, not in my case. I was a young player and I went to a team full of Russian stars, so I was the one paid less than everybody, if I am not connected. If not everybody, most of the players. So
yeah, but I heard many times that when you sign as a foreigner in Russia, they have much bigger expectation for you than from Russians because there are the limits.
I don't think that's only Russia. I think generally speaking, that's the case everywhere. And it's not only about the money, but also because usually when somebody's searching for a foreign player, they search for the star or search for the missing point of the team. And when they come, everybody have a good expectation for these players. And that's kind of normal, especially when you want to be that player, like when you want to be the performer, to be the one that bring up the victories and stuff. So for sure, the expectations are high, but that's something that you have to expect if you want to strive for a higher level of volleyball.
Also in Japan, I think there is the similar situation that
absolutely.
The people, like the management thinks like the foreigner is like Messiah who are in one-man army who will like...
No. at least in my case, that was not the case. Nobody thinks you are a god or something, but the expectations are higher than everybody else. And of course, they compensate you for that with a better salary, as you said.
And because in Moscow, the Radostin Stajczuk was assistant, I think, and
True.
you also had the time to work with him before in Bulgaria, and
Yes.
many times here later during your career. So how you remember how this relationship between him and you formed? It was like, did you
Well,
had like connection from the first time you work with each other?
for me, it was, yes, it was amazing because he showed me things in volleyball that I haven't taught before. He was coming from, he was a freshly retired player, and he played abroad for some years before that, and had a good experience in a good level. And the things that he taught me, nobody in Bulgaria like ever speak to me about volleyball, like how to think, how to approach situations, how to prepare them beforehand. And for me, it was an eye-opening experience. And also, the first year, of course, the contact with Dinamo, it was his contact because he was a good friend with Alekno, the coach at that time of Dinamo Moscow. And he was sending me there like to make my next step in my career. And he was like, go, I want you to perform. I want you to go and not think of yourself like a bench player, but you need to fight every day to win your place on the court and stuff like that. Because, going as 20 years old, because I was 20 and I made 21 when I went there. Going as a 20 years old boy at the highest level of team, because Dinamo was playing Champions League. Dinamo was like always the pretender of the Russian league, and Russian league was always considered like if not the best, second best in the world at the time, because at the time Poland was not so strong.
Yes.
French league was inferior to Italian, and I think still is. So there was not big competition for Italian league other than Russia. And going there with this kind of mentality, I was like really ambitious. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I was really ambitious. But left alone, like I never knew which kind of environment I'm going to encounter. And the idea at that time was that Radu will be becoming a head coach of the second team of Dinamo, which was called Luch. And but at the end, I don't remember exactly how it happened, but the court for the head coach there just changed, and he ended up being second coach. So for me, it was like a great laid back, because I had not only a friend and a known face, but also the coach that brought me there with me to help me during the difficult times.
And if you have to put point one season when you think you had the biggest improvement of your form, your volleyball skills, it will be the seasons in Bulgaria, on Russia, or at the beginning of Italy. I'm asking this question because I heard a story that you said about your Bulgarian times, that there was a player called Naiden Naidenov, and
Of course.
And he teach you how to receive, because you wanted to be outside hitter, but you had so much problem with reception. And he like
Not only problem with reception, but problem with to convincing other coaches that I could be a receiver, because everybody was seeing me as a setter, as an opposite, as something else. But for some reason, I just for the first time I tried being at the reception position. That I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I was very fortunate that also at that time this kind of second outside hitter, who was more like an opposite position, was very popular at the time, and becoming popular worldwide. And so the both collided, and I get my window of opportunity, even though I was not such a strong receiver at the time. Actually, to be honest, I was a bad receiver at the time, but I managed it just by keeping good enough and putting the ball down, even though if the ball was not perfect.
But could you say that you had your biggest develop season in Bulgaria or Russia, or maybe the beginning of Trento when you were still young player?
Well, on the performance side, and when I say performance side, I mean during games, maybe that was not my greatest jump. But on the mentality side, for sure, because as I said, my first year with Rado and the year before that with Naiden, like I understand that I have opportunities to grow and there are people that will help me grow. And I like kind of focus so much on volleyball at that time and just my mindset become from the boy who liked volleyball to the professional player who wanted to grow and to become a better player.
And you said that because of the similar culture and language, the life transition from Bulgaria to Russia was not so hard. I mean, not so easy, but also not so much hard. But when it comes to jumping to Serie A, when you sign also the contract with Trento, one of the best team, and also had to learn Italian, also fighting for a spot in the best league in the world, fulfilled with stars of global volleyball. It was tough for you?
I think it was easier. I think it was easier because of the 2-year experience that I got in Russia. I managed to learn a lot and also to gain confidence that even though in the beginning is difficult, slowly but surely you manage to get your situation much better with time and with practice. And I don't mean volleyball speaking. I mean like for life, for language, for communication. So when I went to Italy, once it was much easier environment because the winter there is not so harsh. So in Russia, I had the first year, like a month period where the temperature was -30 in Moscow, and you couldn't even go outside because it was like killing the freeze, and you stayed always in. And it's not so bad, but it's kind of depressing to stay always shut in and never communicate with anybody. At that time, WhatsApp and Facebook was not so popular. I was speaking only with a few friends and my girlfriend at the time. Now you can communicate with everybody just online, but it was not so easy. And it was kind of hard for a young man to shut off his social life and just focus on volleyball. I was doing it, but it was never just an easy thing to do. It was not just like coming naturally to me.
But what makes you so comfortable in Trentino that you landed on the team, you spent many years there, you achieved big success, and was a part of this team who won the Champions League 3 times in a row?
Well, what makes it? I think I'll repeat my answer from the previous question when you asked me why I still play. It's a combination of a lot of factors. Trentino is a very nice small city and offers a very quiet and enjoyable life. For me, it was a really good change from Russia, where the whole winter you see only white and snow and cold. And here, even though there are winters that are very cold, here is a very, very green environment and very, very lively, very nature connected. And you are mostly pushed out to be outdoorsy, go out, go for walks, go to parks and stuff like this. So the lifestyle is the one that gets me. And also, when I came, Trentino was not the winning team that it is now. Trentino was very good contender for every championship, but never won before that. And when I came here, the people of the city just took me in immediately, like something that they waited so long, and I felt like just on the right place in the right time from the first moment I signed in here. And then when we started to play, except our first match, everything went just perfectly.
And and speaking about volleyball, what was a secret of that Trento at that time?
Well, the secret was the team, always. Like we had a very good mm, well-built team and hard work. We worked a lot. We prepared very well for every game, and we suffered through a lot of trainings, a lot of hard work, but always with a hint of smile because the team was always built with people who enjoyed what they're doing, not only how to say, not only doing it for the result, but also enjoying the process of it. And fun fact, that was the first year when I met Michał Winiarczyk, and he was a great teammate of mine. And he was amazing on that regard. He was always the one to wait for the practice to end and to make some jokes and to laugh about it.
And are you surprised that right now he's, coaching national team, Germany national team, became a coach, good coach, because he do you see like this coaching potential in him at that time?
Well, I know him very well, and I know he knows volleyball very well. The only thing is, I don't know how he's managing his players on the physical training part, which was his. He was never pushing himself so hard. So maybe I don't know how he's hard on the players to give the all. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
But for sure, volleyball wise, he's have a vast experience, and I'm sure he has a lot of offer to young players and all players at that matter.
Yeah, also the other player, your teammates from that time who made good career as a coach is Nikolaj Bić, who was
Yes.
setter, and right now he's coaching in Poland. And I remember when I have interview with him like 2 years ago, he said, for most part of my career, I didn't see myself as a player, but at the end of my career, I signed contract in Russia. I saw that coach working there who wasn't very good, and I thought if he can coach at good level, then I can.
Okay.
But
Man, that's interesting.
and
But to be honest, I had the opportunity also to work with.
yes, in Verona.
Yes, and it was a great time. I think he had a very good step up. For sure, a few years before that, he struggled a little bit, but it's normal. It's I think a very big change from player to coach, and the struggle for a few years is kind of normal. And I see every other player who does that pass through that period. But I think he's doing great now, and good luck to him. And I hope to meet him soon.
There was a time in your career when you work with Stoichev in club and in national team.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm wondering, knowing him very well, knowing his character, I don't know, it was harder, easier for you because your relationship to work with him. I mean, because we know that he can be emotional coach of the court. Sometimes, we saw like speeches to players. I suppose on the trainings it was harder than in games. But for you, knowing him and knowing his, I don't know, habits, the way of working, it was easier or harder?
I think easier because it's always easier when you know what to expect and how to expect it, for sure. But it was not easy in that matter. As you said, Rad Stoichev is a very demanding coach, especially on practices. And he never gives you easy time. He never says you, okay, we had a hard week, now we can do a little bit less and stuff like this. No, he's always pushing for the end goal. And for sure, in that matter, it was hard. It was physically very hard, but for me, it was much easier than maybe for people that never knew him before that, because I knew what to expect and how to manage.
But that time you were still playing in national team, so you had like the club season, then short break, and the national team season, and also
Let's say no break.
No break, because I heard that from many players that comparing the times 15 years ago to today national team season, they had much less breaks right now than 30 years ago.
Unfortunately, I cannot speak about
Yeah,
that because I don't know how
yes.
less break they have. But I remember having 1 week per year free time and a few weekends, and that was it.
But how you manage at that time, when it comes to load management, you weren't you feeling tired like in long term? Because yeah, you need rest. Like in some part of your career, all these sacrifices, like the playing without breaks, will like show up, for example, yeah, through injuries.
True. And unfortunately, that was the time that I had one of my bigger problems of my career. In the first year when Radu became coach, I managed to injure my back, and I kind of carried this kind of injury for a few months because I could never like fully get out of it, and that's also kind of hinders our results out for the. Uh, it was not Nations League; it was World League at the time,
Yes, yes.
and we had big problems during the World League. But I was still trying to play because the team needed me on the court, and I was pushing myself, but I was not at 100%. I was like at 50%, if even as much. So I was struggling, the team was struggling, and it was a really bad time. But this kind of things happens in the career of the players, and you can never predict when and where they will happen. So you have to manage as best as you could.
But could you say that subconsciously you felt like hidden pressure on yourself that, okay, I'm one of the best players in national team, so the teammates, I don't know,
No,
the
there
coaches
was no
expecting from you
there was
much.
no nothing hidden about it. There was this kind of pressure. It was not hidden, and everybody, not only me myself, because the first person who put pressure on myself was me, but like also everybody else was expecting some kind of performance, and also the fans, and also everybody, yeah, for sure. But as I said before, this kind of pressure comes with the territory, and if you want to be at that position, to be regarded as a good player, as a best player, and um, be kind of praised for it, you need to accept this kind of pressure for sure.
And because everybody knows like the story from 2012 when you went, this famous press conference with you and Stoichev, but like in Poland, we don't have like much knowledge about the events that proceed to this,
Okay.
decision. So what was like the story that finally made you, okay, make you thinking about, leaving the national team? In general,
Well,
what was the long story behind this final process of leaving national team? What went wrong? Because I heard many stories about the, Bulgarian Federation, Bulgarian
I can
president.
I, I can tell you the long version of the story, but it will take us many hours
No.
to kind of build up to this
Yeah.
moment. But long story short,
Yeah.
to tell like as synthesized as possible, there were some problems during the year building up to this Olympic cycle, and during this Olympic cycle, the main players, we kind of agreed to push ourselves even more to try our best for this kind of Olympics. And as you know, the national team is very demanding because it's a short period of time, no rest between the seasons and everything. So we were pushing ourselves, and especially during the first year, there was this kind of problem with my back, as I told you before. So it was very full of sacrifices, full of pain, full of kind of pushing yourself, even if you don't feel like 100% doing so. And all those sacrifices at the end was met with kind of controversial decision on the part of the federation, which was against the team's interests. And when you give so much of yourself, and at the end you kind of have to fight not only of the adversary teams but also with your own team, which is the federation, kind of discourage you. And at that point, I always said, if you continue on this route, I have nothing to do with you anymore. And at the end, that's how it ends.
So could we say that the Bulgarian Federation doesn't care of players? Because we had a quite similar story of Mariusz Wlazły in Polish national team. He left national team because he said that the Polish Federation didn't take so much care of players when it comes to insurance and this stuff like this. And he later came back to World Championship 2014 and won a championship. But from your perspective, do you feel that like the federation was also only caring about results, but not about players who made these results?
I cannot say that they were caring only about this kind of stuff, but they were caring more about other stuff. So for them, the power struggles and the politics was much more important, and they were like the governing party, and didn't think about the team results, which was the one that kind of ensures everything else. So if the national team made a very good result, everybody would be great, and everybody would be praised, and everybody would be. But they were power struggling among themselves for different reasons. And this reflected the team in a negative way, even though there was no reason for this.
And do you see that during all these years that you're not playing, the situation like became better?
In some ways, yes. In most ways, no. Kind of the situation continued to be as it is. But fortunately, there are people who are trying to push some stuff, some agendas, and I hope for the young players now there are better opportunities. But to be honest, I'm so much outside the national team that I don't really know. But there are some changes, and I think there is light in the tunnel.
And almost like in recent years, every year, every second year, there was this headlines, if Matey Kaziyski will go back to national team. And I want to, because I have the chance to speak with you, to ask you, have you ever been close to come back to national team since your decision to leave?
Really, really honestly, just last year. Last year was like really, I had this kind of moment when I said, oh, the hell with it, maybe one last year, because I was also considering retiring. Kind of for a short period, I was considering retiring for good. So it was like maybe a last chance to do one last trip. And also at that time, the coach at the time, Konstantinov,
Yes.
said, for this championship, I'm bringing all the old guys just to have all the best. Whoever is in the best shape, he will play. And it was like a good opportunity to like meet up with the whole team and make one last struggle. But when I decided to continue playing at the club level, and two, when I finished the championship, I was so tired and so tired that I was like cursing myself why I even thought that it is possible. Unfortunately, the years is very heavy, and national team especially is for younger guys who can recuperate much faster than me.
But for example, Sokolov came back, to fight for like Olympics. So like many people saw that.
What do you mean came back? He never went away.
But no, because like also many times had that coming back, not playing, not playing. So he's still.
He's not playing was connected to injuries. He had some physical problems, and he never quitted. He never said, I'm not going. He was just managing some injuries. And when he was in shape, he always came back.
So like, because last year it was, very, very, I had many news about this. So
there is a helicopter passing here.
Yeah. So like, but you don't have like regret or maybe thinking, okay, what will be if I will play maybe the Bulgaria? Because I remember last year Bulgaria played. They had some games that when they played quite good. I remember, for example, they played against Poland, and I think they played in tiebreak with Polish team. So like, many people was like expecting you like to.
Well, it's always easy to be sentimental and to say, oh, what if and what
Yeah.
else. I always thought like this. For my personal point of view, for me to perform well, I need to believe in the thing I do. And I stopped believing in the thing that we were doing as a national team when we had this big argument and fall down with the federation. So for me, there was no chance that I will be performing at the top level without the putting my heart into it. Because I was knowing that I was going to do it for people who doesn't care, who doesn't give a fuck about us. And that's the thing that maybe convinced me that it's time for me to stop this kind of relationship and just take my route other ways.
But I found the interview from 2020 from like Bulgarian TV, and you said that when you're thinking about your national team career, you feel like you have a feeling of missing opportunity, that this
Yes,
team
of
was
course.
able to achieve something bigger than 2 bronze medals on the
Yes, for sure.
yeah.
But when I say this, I mean more about the year past, not the year that I missed. I speak also in future, if I was continuing, there would be hope. But I was speaking when I saying it more about the team that we had and the team with which we achieved these bronze medals. I always thought that with a little bit of luck and a little bit of better preparation and better, how to say, organization, we could have made even achieved higher goals.
But could you agree with theory that is going all around the volleyball world, that with the secret of your longevity is because you didn't play in national team and you also had like the time to
If
prepare, so easier than many of players who come to the teams shortly after national team season?
for sure, this helps because to be performing at the highest level at my age, I need a very long preparation for the season. And that's a big part of my endurance during the season. It's the preparation phase, and being part of the national team just cut off this time. You just don't have it, and you have to manage without it. For sure, this helps. I don't know how much because obviously I'm not trying the both of them, the both variants, so I can compare. But I think for sure this helps because during the time that people playing games and stuff, I can take my time and prepare my body for the hard season.
And also after Italy, you have a chance to play in Turkish league and in Japan. And was later there was the most rememberful part of your career from Polish people. I mean, Szczecin.
Yes,
Short period in Szczecin when there was a talk that new dream team have been formed, and we know everybody how this ended. But when you remember, yeah, from that time, how this deal happened, yeah, when you decided that you want to join the Poland, I think it was also connected to Stoichev, who became a sport director there.
uh, he came up in a little bit later parts. He joined the team just shortly before the championship started. No, not shortly, but uh, later than me. The proposal came from Lucas Zigadlo,
Yeah,
my
your
friend
former
from
teammate.
Trento. Yeah, and he heard this new team. Sorry, not new team, but this old team that had a new sponsor
Yes.
rising with good opportunities and want to build something new, something great. And my experience in Poland was amazing. I was so glad that I made this kind of choice, and we started this project so charged up with good ideas and good feelings. The team was great, the city was great. I find Poland really amazing. And unfortunately, though, as we all know, the sponsor just never showed up. There was this big talk about sponsor with good money, good opportunities that want to build some new, how to say, new image for the city. And they collected this image with a very strong volleyball team. And the whole idea was amazing because Szczecin, I think, is amazing place to be and to play volleyball. And I'm so unhappy that this team just went away. As I told you, it was a great experience, a lot of hope in it. And I think if this kind of team would have persisted for a few years, now it would have been the dream team we were hoping and speaking of.
And do you remember the first moment when you realized that this project isn't as good as you were told? I mean, do you remember when the first you're like thinking, okay, it's not as good as I was promised?
Depends what you mean, because I never realized that. From the first moment, I was sure that this project was as good as I was promised. This project could have been the thing that we were striving for. Unfortunately, after we took the first salary, so the first month, then the second and third nothing, and there was all the talk. Now there are some bureaucratic problems. They need to find another sponsor because for some reason they cannot pay, and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And then in the maybe 2 weeks period of time, they said they will never pay, they cannot pay, and stuff like this. So you realize that things are going bad, really bad. And at that moment that if I remember correctly, just time-wise, the president started to seek other partners and stuff like this, but it was really late. The season was already started, and slowly but surely everything went to hell.
And I know it was a short experience, but how you remember like the PlusLiga as a league, as a level?
I remember it was quite challenging for sure, and I was very happy because even though we had a great team, great names and everything, we were not going easy into the championship. We were struggling, and that's normal for sure because it was a very new team built up from the ground up, and there were just a few members from the last year, and everybody else was new. But I was very optimistic, very, very optimistic. And for the whole Liga, I find it really great. The only thing I didn't like was that Szczecin was so far away from everything else. The travels were very long every time, but this is not a big problem. The only other thing that I find it because of the popularity of the national team, I was expecting that during the games of the championship, it will be the same atmosphere, like crazy fans all over the place and stuff. I find it a little bit less than what I expected, but when I think about it, it's kind of normal because national team is so exaggerated in Poland that it could have been the same for the clubs.
But you had the chance to play once again with Żygadło and also with Kurek.
Yes.
But when it comes about, when you talk about Żygadło, because you spent with him many years, also you have a big opportunity to play with good setters, because also with Grbić, also with young Janelli. And I'm thinking, how you remember playing with Żygadło, because you have, as an outside hitter, as a scorer, you have to have good connection with the setter.
Yeah.
And how you remember this connection were forming? It was easy for you to play with him?
No, to play with Lukas is amazing. He's very, very fast to connect with you, and very precise with his sets. And I would say this with how to say, lucky for me, but not so much for him. So I was very happy that we have such a great player, even though he didn't play so much, because he was raising the level of our practices so much more than expected. I'm sure that he could have been a first setter everywhere else, but I'm so happy that he was setting in our team because, as I told you, he was amazing during the practices, and he was giving so much benefit to our team to be able to fight against our second team, because our second team was usually in practices beating us so much and giving us hard time. But for his career, for sure he could have been playing in another team. But for him deciding to stay benefited our team so much that it was amazing, amazing.
And when we talk about generally, did you see a big potential in him from the first days?
Yeah, he was like a prodigy. He came in 15 years old, and he was like, but not technically, because for sure he was very good for his age, but he was not as good. But mentally, he was like so stable, so focused, so orientated at the time that it was amazing to see him just fit in the professional team at that young age with ease.
I don't know if that thing doesn't make you old. I mean, many players that right now are at the top of the league saying that you were
Yeah,
their idol, their inspiration when they grew up. For example, Micheletto. And I
for
was
sure,
yeah, and I
for
was
sure.
thinking when you heard these stories, doesn't this make you old?
For sure, for sure. But as I train and as I prepare for the championship, I try not to think about this kind of stuff because yeah, it feels weird and feels make you feel really old. And especially when you say Micheletto, I remember he being like old as my son is now. So I remember him just walking around and playing with his toys around the court during our practices. And now being the main player of Trentino is like kind of a hint that my time is coming, but I'm still struggling to stay for a little bit longer.
But what makes him so good? Because right now he's considered as one of the best, even players without naming a position in the world. And how big person when it comes to the Italian national team he became.
Yes. What makes him so good? Well, first of all, he's a very good all-around player at the top level. He have everything at a high level. And on top of that, he had the physique of a 211, 212 tall
Yeah.
player with the movements of a good receiver and a good, how to say, a defensive player. So this kind of combination makes him a very rare combination and making him really one of the most desired players all over.
And it was easy for you. It was easy for you every time to move back to Trento. I mean, for example, when you talk about the last time, and when you compare
Mm.
your last time to the first time, do you had like similar feeling every time when you joined this team?
Oh, no, because the first time was a new experience,
Yes.
and all the other times it was like falling back to something that I knew. So for sure, the experience was not the same. And for me, it was very easy because during all this year, I've kept home here, even though when I was not playing, my home was always at Trento, and my family is here. So for me, it's like coming back home.
And you said that you considered retiring last year
True.
for good. So, what makes you deciding to playing one more year and to left Trento? Because I think many people expected that you will end your career there.
Ooh. Well, uh, my first decision, my biggest how to say, my biggest incentive to decide to move to another place was that I didn't have good opportunity to stay here. I have opportunity to stay like a bench player, and that was not something that I wanted to do if I continue to play. And that's why I seek out other opportunities. And when Milano came in for me was like sign from God that this was my path because they wanted a player that will give them first a good performance on the court, but also a good mental experience for my teammates. And I think that with all my experience during the years, I've done a good job like managing some part of the team even outside of the court.
So, I can I suppose that you still consider yourself as a guy who, even despite the age, can be a leading player on the team.
Well, not as much as I was before, but for sure I have also my strengths in the court, and I feel I can go on par with everybody else. For sure, I'm not as dominant I was, but what I cannot physically do like I was doing in the years before, I can compensate with experience, compensate with strategy, compensate with preparation.
And how you felt when you came to Trento as a player of Milano and the Trento, put the banner and they restricted your number?
Yeah, those kind of stuff is very, very, very touching, and it's kind of hard to put it in words. But of course, it was not a surprise because this is something what we discussed before. So it's very strange that you know something will happen and still touch you so deep and so hard. And I don't know how to put it in words, but it's an amazing feeling.
But I suppose there was no sentiments on the court, for example, at the end of the season when you finish above them.
Hmm. What kind of sentiment do you mean? There is
Yeah.
always good feelings, but when you have to fight against your old team, you need to disregard them and just go
Yeah.
for the professionalism.
But so in recent years, because last year also Milano made a big surprise that they won against, they beat Perugia. This year
Hmm.
also they another surprise. So I wonder what makes so tough for the Italian teammates, the Milano team. Because for example in CEF Cup they lost you lost against Zawiercie
Hmm.
this season. So like everybody was thinking why they lost so bad to Zawiercie, but in Italian they can be so tough for even the big clubs.
Well, one, Zaverce played against us amazingly. They was serving like hell and making points here and there, which helps a lot during the game, for sure. But also, we were struggling at this period of the season because we had some problems physically, and also like during the season there are up and downs. And like Zavelche took us in our down, and we took other teams when they were down and we were going up. So there was always this kind of struggle during seasons. You know, you have to evaluate your personal form in this period, not generally, because maybe generally the other team is stronger, but if they don't play so good and you play your best, you can not only reach their level but also surpass them. And these kind of struggles you can see over the championships, different teams. You can always see this kind of up and downs, and managing your up and downs is a big part of being a very good, how to say, very experienced and very balanced player, and also very good experienced and balanced team. Something that we do good is always fight in these kinds of I don't want to say discourage, but kind of put in difficult positions teams that they think that they will win us against us easily. So maybe the other team is playing good, they are in good shape, they feel very strong, and they think we are coming to Milano and we are winning 3-0 tonight and we are going home fast. And we never give up. We fight till the end. And they are like, "What is happening? I was going to be home at this hour, but I'm still here playing, you know?" And this year was like a great example about this. And many teams doesn't have the mental stability to endure these kind of situations. And we, on the other hand, have it because we had so many five-set games this year that we build up this tenacity to play till the end and to never give up and to just push for it. That at the end, I think this is one of the things that help us win against Trento.
I know the from the stories of Coach Piazza working in Poland that he is also a demanding coach and but do you see other similarities between him and Coach Stoichev?
I do, but I don't want to discuss them.
Okay, but coming to the end, you said that about the Poland that you remember that this big fans on the arena during the national team games.
Okay.
You also said a good word about the PlusLiga. But apart of this, what are your memories when it comes to playing against Polish team or Polish national team or Polish clubs? Maybe you had like some Polish players, opponents that you remember that they were tough to play against.
Oh, I remember a lot. And when we were speaking about national team results during the last years, it was always bringing back memories that Polish team was our big how to say opponent for all the interesting matches. And unfortunately, we lost most of the fights.
Yeah.
But it was always great. I remember all the players, not just one, but all the players. But if I have to say one, for me, at that time, like the player that I most kind of enjoyed playing against was Możdżonek, the middle blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was always a great guy to play against. He was always ready to laugh, but also to fight hard against you till the end.
And right now, what is your opinion about this today Polish national team? Because last year they won everything, like people expecting from them Olympic medal, maybe even Olympic gold medal. But you have to know that the Polish team always, like since 2004, always lose their quarterfinal game at the Olympics.
Okay.
And many people like thinking, okay, this is the toughest game of the Olympics. But another way, we see like this team, beach team playing. We see these great stars like Semeniuk, Kurek, Leon, Janusz, and etc. So, what are your thoughts about the Polish team?
I think that Polish team, and when I speak Polish team, I mean the whole Polish volleyball in general, for the last, I don't know, maybe 20 years, are slowly bringing up and becoming better and better and stronger. That's the internal championship, that the national team, that the general volleyball movement in Poland. And that is a great thing to see from outside. And I also personally expect great things from the team. I don't know if it will be this year, but generally, I think if your way of moving up your volleyball world, the results will come sooner or later. And you had great results, but now, as you said, the focus is on the Olympics, and that's the big goal in front of the team. I think they have the strength to do it. I don't know with what kind of shape they are in, but Polish team is the team with the most players at the high level, the most variability. I don't know if I can say this in English.
Yes.
They have most high-end players at the same position than any other team. And I think the opportunity is there. And for sure, it's not easy because every other team will try to put their best game against them. And that's always the struggle of the favorite. But I think that your team have the power to do it. And I hope that they'll manage to do it.
I remember Argentinian players told me that Polish national team have so big pool of players that 8-9 best outside hitter in Poland will be fight for a starting spot in the Argentina national team.
Not only Argentinian, for sure. I think for sure in most other teams that they will have a spot.
And how you see the future of Bulgarian national team? Do you think the Nikolov brothers will be like the key players for the next 10 years or maybe even more?
I think they could be. Unfortunately, I don't know if you know, but one of them now has an injury. I hope this passes well, because you can never know how this kind of work out. But it seems that he made one operation, and I don't know if he has to make another one now. I am not sure, but he's recovering, and I hope everything goes well, because this kind of stuff can be like a very big problem during for the long run. But for sure, there is a lot of hope on them and also other young players. I think there is a good generation coming up, and if the federation makes a good job to managing them and give them good opportunities and help them like do their best, the team can become one of the respected teams once more.
So
Because of lately, we lost a lot of rankings, and that propose that we are struggling more to qualify for different events, and this is kind of pity because I think Bulgaria has spot in all the events volleyball wise.
So Blengini is a good choice for them?
For me, great choice. For me, that was a really good decision, and I hope they kind of stick with it, not like other years, just take it for a few years and then make another change.
And we talk, because coming to the end, we talk mostly about volleyball, but in going personal, how you combine the player career with, I would say, career of husband, career of father, because, it's...
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because many players, told me you have like the volleyball is your passion, but it's also your job. So you have to be fully professional when it comes to the rest time, to the eating, to the, you
Sure.
spend so much time of traveling. But in another way, you have a child who, doesn't care that you are tired, doesn't care you are lost the
Sure.
game, and want to play with daddy no matter what the results he had. So how fatherhood change you? Do you think fatherhood change you as a person and change somehow your playing career?
Unfortunately, in this kind of stuff, you have to find balance. So you take something from your professional life and you take something from your child life. For sure, there is a struggle to maintain this balance. And for me personally, it was much easier when I was here in Trento, and it's a bit harder when I'm now in Milano because I need to travel a lot. But this is kind of sacrifice that you have to do. And fortunately enough, my child is very young, and I will be stopping soon. So I hope to be there for him more soon enough. But for now, it's like kind of balancing the two fields. It's not easy, but it's something that I've done since the first day he was born. So I think we are doing good enough.
But do you see Trento as also your home after retirement? Like the place you will stay for longer?
For now, seems yes, for sure. My family was always stationed here, and I'm the one traveling front and back most of the time. So I think yes, but also depends on the opportunity I'll have once I finish playing.
And also when I'm speaking with my guests in podcast, at the end they have to form the dream team, but only from the players they played with. In national team or clubs, you can choose by sympathy or you can choose by level. But I would like, to know your dream team of your teammates with explanation of each choice. So I would start with setter.
Setter is the hardest part. No, I think every part will be hard. Now that I think of it, very hard. For me, I'll take Garbage as a setter because when I was a young player, he was my inspiration for a professional player, and when I get to know him and be his teammate, everything confirmed, and he was like the embodiment of a professional volleyball player. And I think his resolve and his professionality is something to be beheld, and that's why I pick him.
Outside hitter first.
I'll take the couple of Quantorena Winiarski.
Okay.
Two great players. Nothing more to say about that. They are really top of the game, top of the players, and it will be amazing if there is the opportunity to see them play together.
Opposite,
I'll grab Sokolov for sure amazing, and I really regret that we didn't match to play together so much because he was like very young and very inexperienced when he was with me in Trentino, so he didn't have so much time to play, even though when he would play, he played a great level. But then he grew up so much, so it will be a good fulfillment for the team that we're building.
Middle blocker?
Middle blocker.
Two middle blockers.
Also hard of a choice. Yes, of course. I'll pick. I'll pick Birarelli and I'll pick Juric because Mitar Juric is a known opposite player, but when he started, he was a middle blocker, and for me, he was an amazing middle blocker. And I choose the fast and technical one, Birarelli, and the strong and powerful one for Juric, because I think that's a great combination to have both, and I think that's a good choice for my team.
Libero?
Libero, I would go with Kulaci because he was the one who played longer and he was the more consistent one. But for the spirit of the teammate, also Barreto was an amazing teammate because he brings so much outside of the court that it is amazing.
And coach? Stojcev?
Coach for sure, Stojcev. Yes, of course, for sure. Because I'm so familiar with him and he was so great during all the years. I'm not changing him.
And apart of staying healthy, what should I wish to you?
Maybe good energy to have a few more years in the top rankings of the volleyball.
Few more years. So
Let's hope. We don't know.
Okay, so big thanks, Matej, for having time for me. It was a great pleasure that we were able to talk. Last year when I spoke with Bruno Erzende, I told him that I have two active players from my childhood days who are still playing. One of them was him, and second was you. And Bruno said that this makes him old, quite old also. Because but a part of this, big thanks for having time. I appreciate that you find the time during your break, and I'm very glad that I was finally able to talk with you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for me, and sorry it took so much time. And wish you well on your podcast, and have a good summer.